everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Adobe Office Hours. We're teaching you how to make a logo today, which I think is one of the most requested things that we have on the show. Nick, what are we going to be doing today? We're covering a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so we taught you a little bit about Illustrator last week. We showed you some of the basics, and it's a perfect kind of lead into today where we're going to actually take some of the sketch work that our friends and family did in Discord, and we're going to take it into Illustrator and start building some stuff. And also, but we're going to show you some principles as well. I think that's going to be kind of fun to talk about how we do that.
Yep, and when we're talking about community, we want to do a couple shout outs. One, if you're watching this live, hello, we see you in chat. We have Laura, Mimi, Giratima is back. Hello, welcome back. Mimi, nice to see you all. If you're on YouTube, hello, you can come watch on Behance if you're live. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, be sure to leave us a comment, subscribe, all that stuff down below, and leave us a comment about what you'd like to see us cover on this show. And Nick, why would they leave a comment? Does this show happen very often? Could we cover their topics?
We're here every Friday, guys, and for the whole year, we're doing this back to basics. Great kind of starting point for any of you that really just want to kind of learn the creative process and go through all of the different apps with Adobe. We'll be doing it every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, but we love it when you even show up and put in some comments on our YouTube channel as well.
Yep. And if it sounds a little bit echoey here, you know that this show is live, you know that we produce it, and we are producing it from a new empty apartment. So it is all the echoes. If you hear a little bit from me, it might sound a little bit different today. But let's go ahead and hop in. Let's get started here. Nick, do we want to just jump right into talking about logos?
Yeah, we could do that, and then we can maybe show a little bit of what everybody put in Discord.
I was going to say, speaking of Discord, let's do... Let's talk about logos first. For those people that are like, they talk too much. Let's just get right into it. All right, here we go.
Get right into it.
So also, hi Flynn Tracy in chat. All right, so Nick, let's talk about types of logos. A lot of people are probably watching this, own a small business, are looking to do something for a friend. Their uncle hit them up and wants them to like make something for his new sock company. There are a bunch of different kinds of logos when we talk about logos. What are the types?
Yeah, so here's what we've put together as far as like the types to kind of think about. And what I love about this too is it kind of helps prep us to understand what we're going to be creating, right? You got everything as simple as Pepsi, which is the abstract mark, right? It really doesn't mean much. It's just like it says, it's abstract, but it's identifiable, right? It's definitely tuned into who they are, and they own that, right? That is their look and feel. The second one, and this is a unique one, you don't see it too much, but I love that even KFC's got it, and that's the mascot logo. And this is the one that actually includes a mascot, character, something in there that is representing the brand all on their own.
Duolingo.
I always find it, don't you find it interesting too that like the KFC is so small in there, and yet it's still, when you look at that, and he's gone through a lot of different renditions, right? That logo's been updated over the years. It still says KFC, and that's really kind of cool.
And you know that it's a good logo when like the logo is the mascot, right? The logo is Colonel Sanders, and like they've cast like Reba and all these actors as Colonel Sanders, and you're still like, oh, it's totally KFC.
It's like that's how strong it is.
The logo is the facial features, it's the mustache, it's the tie, it's those elements coming together to make you think of KFC. And I think that brings a broader conversation that a logo is really just anything that represents a company or makes people think about your company, right? Your logo could be like a cardboard box. Amazon, right? And it's like, it's a box, but you see a box and you're like, Amazon. It's anything that makes you think about that company. That's what a logo is.
It's that identifiable connection.
Yeah, totally. So next we have a combination mark. What's that?
Yeah, so this is that combo of both graphic elements and typography. So this is actually the previous Burger King logo. Obviously, they've redone it in the last year. But again, it shows both the swoosh for like efficiency and kind of helps capture the whole logo in one thing. You've got the buns, and then you've also got Burger King, the typography within there. So combination of both graphic and typography.
Yep.
Next up, emblem. Now this could also be like monograms, crests, you know, anything you see like that, right?
I always think about emblem logos. All that I think about is film festivals.
Yes.
Right? It is always just like the award for a film festival. That's all that I think of when I see emblem logos.
Like with the curved set of like leaves on both sides, right? Isn't that funny that that's not even like an official, someone's probably just used that over and over again, and that is the film award icon.
Yes.
Like Totally funny. Okay, so we know what that is, and this is a combination of everything, right? You got graphics, you got type, you've got banners, you name it, housing structure for the actual piece itself. That leads into one of my favorite ones. This is the letter mark. And the letter mark to me is something really, really great because it's a little different from the word mark, and we'll get to that in a sec. But the letter mark is where it's all, let's call it more like abstract lettering. So it's not a font, it's not something typical, it's based and made particularly for that one. And NASA is a perfect example of this custom type that has become their letter, and it works as a mark, even though it is typography.
It's the in-between of the word mark and the abstract mark. It's like using abstractions on words so that it becomes kind of this middle ground.
Yes, exactly. And then in the middle there, good segue, is the pictorial mark. And that is the one where it is 100% an image. That's all it is, right? It is the Apple of Apple computers. Like, this is so iconic and such a bold kind of strict thing. It's funny, I think if you look at now, there's a lot less of this because I feel like we have just, it's almost like how difficult is it to become legendary in this space, right?
Yes.
It takes 20 or 30 years, like the Nike swoosh, same thing. And if you're not seeing a lot of brands trying that right now, it's because it is such a flooded market, right? So again, could be bold. You could try this. This is obviously your choice of where you want to go. But this last one is the word mark. And that is really when it is simply just the word, but Google is this perfect example of just by changing the colors and giving it a different color palette. It's very playful. It's very streamlined. So all of these things, what I always love to tell anybody at this intro stage of logos is describe a logo in words like that, right? This is streamlined, this is playful, some kind of an adjective. And that is what you want to do when you're building a logo. You want to have a few of those words in mind. So you are trying to do something, that's a goal. That's what you're trying to set.
And when you're starting out, if you're just making your first logo, I kind of want to break down 3 things real quick. So I'm going to jump out of this so you can see.
Go for it.
When we're working with designing and thinking of the ideation, right? We did an episode on ideation a couple episodes ago, but we have 3 different kinds of things that we're using here. So we have the symbol, and a symbol is something that is just understood within context, right? So Pepsi, Nike would be another great one that it doesn't mean anything, but people start to understand it after exposure, right? If you're starting out, don't start trying to make a symbol. If it's your first logo, you're probably not going to make a symbol. You can do something abstract that doesn't really mean anything and build into a symbol, but it's really hard to establish a symbol as a logo.
That's a great point. It comes in time, and in most cases, they have adapted it over the years to that. Like, look at the old Pepsi logo, right? It was probably more based on the globe and some stuff, but you're right. It has totally simplified.
And there we go. The next one is an icon, and this is probably what we want you to do during this show. If you're working on a logo, try to work on an icon. An icon basically just is a representation of what it is, right? So this is a man. The icon is a man, right? Burger King, it looks like a burger because it is for a burger. So using an icon of something, Apple looks like an apple. An icon is going to be easiest for you if you're just starting out to make your first logo. And then the last thing is index. An index is something that gives information. So the swoosh here on the Burger King logo is giving us momentum and energy. It's telling us something about it. So you don't see indexes very often in logos, but if you want to add motion, the greatest way to do that is to use an index, like a line or color that gives you information about that. Arrows are a great example, yes. So those are the 3 main pieces of creating a logo. And I just wanted to warn you, don't try to make a symbol right now. Start out trying to make an icon because you can look at it and then try to trace it or make something from the real world into the digital instead of trying to just think something up. All right. So speaking of that, we're jumping in, we're making our first logo, we're doing it. What do we have to have as we start working on this?
Yeah, so answer these questions. I think this is particularly the first one. I remember when someone wrote out strikes an emotional chord that really struck an emotional chord with me to remember that your logo should do this in some way. You could think of any logo that you've gravitated to with a brand that maybe you trust or you go and buy on a regular basis. There's something about that logo, particularly the icon, like you mentioned in the slide before, that strikes that emotional chord. Is it happy? Is it adventurous? Is it curious, right? Like, is it structured? Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
right.
a lot of think about like Thrasher, right? It's literally a word mark and it just says Thrasher, but you see it and you're like, yeah, I want to go like shred
Yeah.
some rails and stuff. I don't know, I don't skateboard, but like it gives you that
Yeah.
emotional chord.
Good try. Liquid Death is one of our favorites,
Oh
right? Same
yeah.
idea. It gives you, it's just typography. It's just a great font and a great word mark. But again, it tells you something. It's rebellious. It's like against the rules, right? There's your emotional cord. So always try to have something like that. Otherwise, I feel like it's just watered down, and it really doesn't have that, because if you don't have that, you can't do this second thing, and you can't start a conversation about a brand unless you have done that. So you can look at logos that really do that as well. It might be a very storytelling brand, or it might be a very comfortable brand. Maybe it's like, something, it could be like, I love when you see like around the holidays, you see everybody's trying, like it might be like fluffy socks or a scarf or something wintry, whatever. All of a sudden the logo turns to something, and it starts a conversation about what you should be thinking about.
Yep.
And the last one here, I think, because we don't see this sometimes in some of the more everyday common logos, is it's got to mean something. I think to have a little hidden meaning, or to have those little Easter eggs, but to obviously have some overall arching meaning to it. I love that, because if you've designed a logo, you should be able to answer that question if someone says to you, Andrew, love that logo, but what inspired you? Where did you get to that level? Love having the backstory.
Yep, and exactly as your team is saying, something like the vibe of the logo. Yes, it is the vibe 100%. It is about the vibe. So logo design mistakes. Here are mistakes that we see all the time, and I think Nick and I now are conditioned to just like call them out. So if you ever are working on something, you need feedback, drop it on our Discord, which is right over there, by the way. We didn't plug that yet, but discord.gg/ACC. Drop it in the Discord and ask for feedback, and if you're doing one of these things, we'll call you out on it. So something that's too trendy. Nick, what's trendy right now? What are we singing in trend?
Oh God, just go on Dribble, I'm assuming, right? Like, actually, like it's crazy how these trends become trends. When things rise to the top, when they've been seen more and more often, guess what? Designers shift to it, and almost we go to it almost immediately as a solution. Whereas if it's hit a trend, if it's become that level right now, it means it's time to go.
Yep.
If it's hit the mainstream, right? I always love to say, like, if you look at who's the most risk taker, it might be a small indie little company that is, well, like, I don't care, we're going to make the most crazy thing. That starts a trend. All the bigger companies start following it. Then it makes it to the masses, and by that time, it's done. Yep. Right? And so become the trend, become the new trendsetter. That's what I always like to say.
That's a great way to think about logos. And I like to say this when I'm working with clients is, by the time that you start to get annoyed with it is the time that people are just starting to notice it.
You're
so
right,
if you think about that, by the time that like the internet is starting to notice it, then you've already missed, right?
Yes.
That you've already missed hitting the trend, because if people are noticing it already, you're not going to be a trendsetter. You're just going to be following. And yes, someone in chat says, remember the long shadows trend of putting shadows on everything? Yes. Okay. Continuing on, looking at your logo. I know that it will be tempting. There are so many good sites out there that are just going to throw fonts at you, right? And it's like, just pick all these, put all the things in all the words you just want to have your company with all kinds of stuff. Don't do it. Don't pick gimmicky fonts. Do something that is clean, that is approachable. And I always think, do something that would be cheap to put on the side of a building, right? And I don't say that it would look nice on the side of a building, something that would be cheap, because the more you add, the more expensive it would be to make a sign that's like die cut. And so I always think like, cool, I need a font that will be cheap to put on the side of the building, because it will probably be refined and good for my company, because it won't be overcomplicated. That's how I kind of sift them through.
And those go hand in hand, because your fonts can be very trendy. And so what you should be thinking too is, has this one been used over and over again? Why would you want to represent a new company or a client or the job you're working at with something that is already so tired?
Yep.
And it's just going to have to be redone so quickly. So move away from that. I loved your advice on that too. I always like to say, find the font that has structure and cleanliness and readability, but might just add a touch of the personality that you need to strike that chord that we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. And the last one, don't have a confusing message. Make sure that it is streamlined, that you can understand it. I always ask, what is the thing? Your logo
Yeah.
should have a thing. It should be the thing. And in the elevator, you should be able to show someone and be like, here's what it is, really, really quickly
Yeah.
and really easily. Right there, I do want to take a quick break and just say hello to everyone. I'm guessing that
Yes.
Adobe Portfolio tweeted about the show or something. Hi, welcome to Office
What's up,
Hours.
everybody?
A bunch of you just came in here. Hi, it's live. We're live. If you're watching the replay, it's not live. But if you did, it is live. Hi, I'm Andrew Hockrattle.
I'm Nick Longo.
And this is Office Hours. We happen every Friday here on Behance at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. And Nick, what are we doing for this entire year so that those who are joining us can become a part?
Yeah, you've joined us right in the middle of episode 4 of our creative basics, and we're going back to the very beginning. Right now, we talked about an idea, we've talked a little bit about sketching, we've talked about Adobe Illustrator, and now today we are building logos. And we want to show you how to be really comfortable in that first few stages of opening up a file and just having fun.
Yep.
We're going to tell you rules, but experiment. Definitely have some fun with this.
Yeah, if you're just joining us for the first time, drop a little wave emoji in the Behance chat right over, nope, there. Maybe over there? Yeah, drop a little hand over there. It'd be nice to see you. It's always fun to see that number jump up and assume that we got a tweet from somewhere. All right, let's hop back in and talk about logos. Let's look at some good logos. And these are actually some of my favorites. So Nick picked these out, and there are at least 2 or 3 that I'm like, yep, these would have made it. If you want extra credit, chat, or anyone watching, look up the logo system for the city of Melbourne. It is amazing.
Yes.
City of Melbourne. Check that out. All right, Nick.
Kind of
talk
reminds
about
me
it.
of the Mall of America one. They have
Yes.
there's something very, oh God, there's the colors, everything, the flexibility. But these good ones here, I always love to show this slide or my favorites at the moment and show you why. These are balanced, they're very structured, they're appropriate to their brand. They have really good texts in their fonts, right? Like the fonts and the text that were chosen are just good. They don't, notice the icons, the colors, the stuff are really what sing. The fonts in a lot of these ways, I think, kind of just streamline a little bit more. We got to remember, we're looking at things as small as our watch now, where graphics and logos are going to be showing up, right? But I love this idea of just thinking of, is your logo memorable enough? Like, can someone, after a few times, draw this? Can they remember it in their mind what it looks like? And I think that's the thing. We have a great little note down in the next few slides or so, but I'll wait till we get there. But I love this idea of like even the FedEx, which is just just type. What's so great about it is, one, they own those colors. Like that purple and orange combination, you can see 2 swatches and you'd say FedEx, right?
Yep.
But then also it has that really subliminal arrow in the negative space.
Legendary.
Don't mess with it. I love, somebody played around with it on Twitter a while back and said like, why don't they just fill it with purple? And they did it jokingly.
Oh, it was Dan Casaro. It was Dan Casaro,
but
100%.
It was one of the best little things. And everyone's just like, no. And I'm like, he's just kidding, guys.
Yeah,
like,
if y'all are looking for giggles, follow Dan Casaro. I do want to shout out real quick. We have some new people that are joining us for the first time. Catherine is here. Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you. Jadeep is here. Sydney. We have
wonderful.
Yes, all kinds of new people.
Welcome,
nice to
guys.
see you.
Thanks for
Hello.
joining.
And I'm sure there's a lot of you lingering as well. Thanks for joining our Office Hours community. As always, you can join our Discord right over there. So discord.gg/ACC. We hang out and talk. There's a voice channel happening right there if you want to go and talk to some friends. There are friends in there. All right. So let's talk about logo design principles. You came here to learn how to make a logo. Here's how you make a
gonna show
logo,
you.
right? You do these things. Nick, talk about it.
Simplicity.
Yes.
Right? I love that idea. Memorable. Is it memorable? Like we talked about. Timeless. I can't stress this enough. No one wants to rebrand, right? You rebrand because something happened, something shifted, and your logo did not stand the test of time. Look at Coca-Cola. They have adapted, they've switched, but my gosh, they've kept it alive for like, what, 100 and something years? Incredible. Apple, totally great idea, showing you the example of being totally versatile. Look how appropriate that is, one to them. It's scalable, it could work anywhere, and it's just this reversed out thing. I think New Era is one of my favorite logos of all time. I just think it has this patriotic vibe, it's appropriate to them and everything. It works both black and white and reversed. There's this great kind of like, it almost has 2 different ways it works when they use it. But my favorite thing to say is, and this is what I say to every student when we're at that stage of like narrowing down from sketches to here, how do you say more with less?
Yes.
And I think if you keep that in mind, you'll avoid a lot of these things right from the very beginning, right? There won't be complexity. There won't be gimmicky and crazy fonts because you've said more with less. And that almost if there's one thing you remember, that's my favorite lesson from
And
learning
a
about
good tip
logos.
for that is to ask yourself why on every piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
We look at these logos and there's nothing that we can ask why on, right? They're all boiled down to the essential, right? You can think for Apple, you can think, why do we need the leaf, right? You're asking questions about every element. Why do we need the leaf? Oh, because it's not just an apple, it's a Macintosh apple, right? That it's giving us a little more information that we need. And so ask yourself why on everything. And Nick, we had a great question come in. And again, if you ever have questions, if you're watching the replay, leave them in the comments down below. If you're on Discord, leave them in Discord. If you're watching live, put them in Behance. We had a great question come in that Catherine said, is it coincidence that all the fonts look similar? Is that the trendy thing that we've been talking about? What do you think about
right
this?
now in the moment, like in the moment?
Yeah, a lot of businesses having a similar font.
Oh, well, I think also there's that great image where they showed almost every retailer, like Burberry, Hermes, all whatever. They've all went from this beautiful, well-designed, exclusive font to like just like Helvetica Bold, right?
Yes.
And I think that's kind of I think that's kind of interesting. I think it's a digital world, and in a lot of ways, maybe their previous logo did not work in small scales on screens. And I think this is their way. Look, they're so established. No logo change is going to ruin them, right? Gucci isn't going anywhere, right?
Yeah, Gucci isn't going anywhere. And
so
I
think that's why.
Yeah, I think that they're realizing, we'll actually get to this in a further episode, is a lot of businesses are realizing that as they get bigger, there's a point where your brand is more important than your logo. We're just talking about logos today, so I'm not going to go into that. But I think that that's what you're seeing is when people are just all looking the same and big businesses are looking the same with just a word mark, it's because their brand is really strong. All right, so Nick, let's talk about our Discord and then let's hop into making some logos. We got about 30 minutes left on the show. Lots of people are in here. Hi, hello. It's nice to see those live viewers hanging out. So, what's our Discord, Nick? Where does that exist?
Right there. See that little address right there? We want you to join in on that. We have such great conversations going on there, but also too, like no other semester, our homework has just been on fire. Like everyone's posting the minute we finish. I log back in and I'm seeing all this stuff. Sketches for our Mystic Rescue Cafe. This is fantastic.
Yes. So in the Discord, if you go there, you can scroll down and find our channels, which is in the office hours section right here. You can click on Creative Basics, and this is where we just hang out, kind of talk about the show, talk about things we're working on. But then you can click in the homework tab, and we are giving you homework pretty much every week. We're all building something together. And so as you can see, a ton of people have been submitting their sketches to this project that we're working on that we'll talk about in a second. And if you want to follow along with us right now, you can go in here and I just posted the logo practice AI file. If you want to download Illustrator, jump in with us and you can practice making a logo with us. There also is another program that also we have the classroom chat. If you want to hang out in voice, right there, you can go into the voice channel and hang out to talk to some friends. And yes, I know my notifications are stressful. Don't worry about it. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into Illustrator, and I'm going to open up that file. And Nick, do you want to take the reins on the first kind of logo and explain what this file is and what we're looking at here?
Yeah, perfect. So what we did was we kind of put together some of our favorite ones. We thought were kind of more like perfect for this stage, right? Like what we want to mess around with to start building. And we put these here so they are ready to go. I believe you just placed them on here, correct?
Yes, so they are all placed. And let me hop over to my screen so that I can show you a little bit. The way to see the difference between my screen and Nick's is my background's white, Nick's is gray. So what you want to do is make sure that you come over to this layers panel right here. If this is your first time working in Illustrator, we do have a basics in that was right before this in the playlist. But you can go and just click on your work and make sure you're working on the your work layer because the background layer I can turn on and off so that we can see our progress once we're done. So go ahead, work on this layer, make sure that it's highlighted blue. And then Nick, do you want to hop in and talk about maybe the first kind of logo in that upper left and what we can do to build that kind of shape?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. So we've got this here, right? We're looking at our, I like this. You've got this kind of like circular, almost frame, right? And I think it's going to have like, we want to think of text maybe in the middle.
Yeah,
correct?
I think so.
Right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to head right over to our tools here and I'm going to go to the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to start building here. So I am on your work here. So background is all on its own. And I'm just going to eye it. Now, one thing I can do is if I hold the shift key down, I'm going to, whoops, there we go. It's actually the command key, or the option key. hold the Option key down and see what I'm gonna do? I'm circling out from here. So I get to mess around and play here, but I'm gonna just try to build based on here. So I'm holding that Option key down means I'm centered to that spot where I started. And quickly what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna go into my swatches and I'm gonna get rid of the fill here. So now I can see what I'm building.
Yep.
And with the line art, I'm just gonna go, just to play it safe, I'm gonna go with like the magenta or something here. Let's go with the red, because I want it to stand out from the blue, right?
Yes.
Obviously we're building here and stuff. So we got that ready to go.
And if you're working and you have your sketch, right, which we've talked about in the past, if you have your sketch, try to build it in basic shapes. That's what we're going to try to do a little bit today. We'll show you some other ways, but try to think about basic shapes. And this one we're starting with because it's literally a circle and a rectangle.
There you go. So a quick thing I could do is I'm looking like we got an inner circle within here. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of make a smaller one, but one thing I love to do, and it's a very quick step, is it's just going to object and going to path, and then you're gonna go to offset path. And all this is gonna do, I'm gonna put a little negative here because that preset was there. I'm gonna hit the tab button, and next thing you know, I get this perfectly shrunk offset path right in that second wave. Just a perfect, simple way to do it. I didn't have to try to do it. If I tried it by eye, right, I'd be messing up. It would not be exactly even. So with the preview on, I'm just hitting OK, and there we go. I've got my second one ready to go, and I'm looking great. We're getting somewhere here. So I'm gonna turn the artwork off for just a second because I want to look at the actual one here. So hitting this eye turns that off, and now it looks like, I'm assuming the idea here was to have, let's see. What do you think? A ring on top and a ring on bottom, and then just open space in between where the type would go?
I think so, yeah.
Does that look good?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna click on that. First thing I'm gonna do is just grab both of these. I'm gonna go and turn compound path on. So, you know what a compound path is, right?
Yeah, so a compound path is basically like a donut, right? So it's like having the donut and you're punching out the donut hole so that the actual donut, right, is not... It's the remaining dough, if you will. So a compound path makes it into a single shape with a hole and not two different shapes.
Perfect. There you go. So I'm going to show you really quick what that means. If I take this and give it a fill, you'll see it's actually a ring now rather than two circles that are just floating. We've kind of created this thing where, like he said, you've punched this out. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of the blue box here. And then all I'm going to do now is I've got that ready to go. All I need to do now is build a square over it, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of Pathfinder, which will take this and kind of, we're gonna do a lot of different shape building, but all I'm gonna do is kind of drag this here. And there's something I should do before that. What do you think I should do before I actually subtract this? Any ideas? Because it doesn't look quite centered, does it?
Yes, you need to center it.
All right, so I'm gonna grab this, Shift key, and that together. And I've got my align tools up here. So all I want to do is I'm going to hit this one. I'm going to vertically align it. So right now I know that that is perfectly in between at the center point. That way you're going to have two exact opposite things at when I do this kind of subtract. So this one is behind, and the way you can do that is by actually going here.
And yes, the align tool. People in chat are saying, yes, it was the align tool that we used there.
There you go. What did I call it?
I don't know.
Oh, gotcha.
I was looking at another question that was in chat is, does the iPad have offset stroke? It does not have offset stroke yet.
There we go. All right.
And there is one more issue here that our chat has already found, and that is that we need the shape to be above. So if you think about using the Pathfinder or subtracting, it's like a punch. So whatever is on top is going to punch through the bottom. So if we want to take out that rectangle, the rectangle has to be in front of the circle so that it punches out those extra little pieces.
See, I do minus back. I know a lot of people minus front, right?
Oh, Nick does it. Ooh. Okay, how do we do this, Nick?
Okay, so watch. So let's do this. I'm going to get rid of the lines on this one, and I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to give it a fill of orange, so we're a little bit different here. Okay, there we go. So my square is technically behind it, right? If I brought it in front, copy, paste in front, there it is. So you could do that based on what tool you're going to use in Pathfinder, right? So I'm going to take it, put it behind. Now you take both of that, Shift key, and select both. And what's great about Pathfinder, I really recommend people learn this and just mess around with these. As you hover over, it will tell you exactly what it's going to do. Minus back, boom. So there you go. We have minused that, and we have made this cool shape. All of a sudden, we're already starting to see the beginnings of our logo here, right?
Yep. So Nick,
Perfect.
I want you to continue on and maybe
Yes,
like
take it
put some
away.
type in there or put the trident on. I'm going to show you them how to build shapes. And you're probably just going to be building those same shapes on the trident. But I want to show you how to build shapes on this one by Chris Eric. And these are all the usernames of
Perfect. Go for it,
our
man.
friends in Discord. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and break this down again into simple shapes. And I love this sketch, but I do want to make a couple changes as I go. Now I'm going to keep it super loosey-goosey, and we are going to select the rectangle tool right here. And just like Nick did, I'm going to turn off the fill and then fill a stroke. So we're going to turn off the fill by just clicking on this little slash right here, and then I'll double click on the stroke, and it will allow me to pick a color. So I'm going to pick a bright red. So now when I make a shape, any shape that I make will have that bright red as a stroke. So I'm gonna go ahead and just outline some of these. And the sketch that I scanned in, not super level, not super great, but we're just going to use our mind to make the augmentations as we go, right? Maybe we have a sketch, but we have something that we wanna try. There's no wrong way to do things. So I'm gonna make a copy of this because I know that it's exactly the same on the other side. And we're going to click and drag holding Alt or Option. You can see my little arrow key turn into a little double arrow key right there. And drag it over to like there, says a question. We're going to select both of these by holding Shift, and then we're going to right click and hit on Group. So that will group them together. Now I want to make this little piece in here, but I don't want the cutout at the top. I just want it to be all the way to the bottom. So let's go ahead and grab the polygon tool and make a 3-sided polygon. So I'm going to grab the polygon tool and click, and then type in 3. And that will give us a rectangle. Or sorry, a rectangle. I was so confident. A triangle. I'm going to rotate this triangle just using the rotate tool. And then we're going to use the bounding box around it to make it so that it goes all the way to the bottom. So I want it to come all the way to the bottom here. And I think I want it a little bit thinner, but I want that super harsh look to it. So we're going to align that right there. And to me, that looks pretty good. I actually maybe even want it to go a little bit below, right? It could be cool if it kind of just did a little bit of difference. And oh my goodness, I can't believe that we didn't talk about this. Our friend Giratima is asking, what is the homework? What are we working on? Nick, what are we working on? We haven't talked about it at all. What is the concept that we're making a logo for in this show?
We are creating our Mystic Rescue Cafe, and that was made up by our friends when we had a cool little brainstorming session. I believe it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, so we talked about ideation.
Yeah. And this is a wonderful kind of cafe that all the proceeds will go to endangered species. But the theme, we're going to be just using very cool medieval, mystic, majestic style animals and fun stuff like that.
Yep. So that's what we're working on. If you want to join us, great. If you have a yoga studio, if you have a small business of your own, you can work on a logo for that. It's the same principles. We're just going to be building with basic shapes.
There you go.
So
Perfect.
I've made this M, and then I want to make these little pieces that are on the side. To me, they kind of look like almost rectangles. So I'm just going to make some rectangles on the side, he said with a question, and kind of pull it over here. Now, there are a couple places that I know I want them to kind of curve. And the great thing is I can round the edges of the rectangles. I can grab the direct selection tool, which is just A, or the white one right here. And we're going to click on this, and I'm just going to start to round it out, right? And that's going to start to give us a little bit of that claw look that we were looking at before. I'm going to do the same thing with this one, kind of round it out a little bit. And then this, maybe I'll pull in, see if that gives us some cool dimension. Yeah, kind of close. Sure. I'm going to use the R tool, rotate, to rotate that. Oh, I rotated just the piece. Oops.
You know what's so cool? I love seeing people's way they will make something. Like I think the beauty of this app is there are probably about 40 different ways you can make these little stripes.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
these
absolutely.
Little claws. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
this is awesome.
That looks enough like a finger to me for me not to be mad. And what I can do is, again, I can just grab Shift and Alt or Option, and that's going to make a copy of it. And then maybe I'll put another one up here. And then maybe this one comes in a little bit further so that they kind of move as they're coming in at an angle. So the cool thing here is I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, hitting Shift, right, to click through. I'm going to go to Group. And then I am going to go to right click and go to transform and reflect. And I know that I want them on the other side, but I want a copy. So I'm going to vertical reflect right this way, and I'm going to make a copy of them. And there we go. Now we have a copy, and I'm going to select both of these. I'm just going to group them together, and then I will align them again to that center. So that looks great, but here's where we really want it to shine is we're going to select all these pieces, and you see now that the stroke is on there. We're going to hit Shift and X. We're simply going to click this little swap fill and stroke, and it's going to flip it over for us. And now let's fill these maybe with white. You can see that we start to get a little bit of a logo there. We could punch that all out. We could make it so that it is a little bit different. And if we wanted to, we could even take the M out here using that Pathfinder that Nick was using as well. So Nick used the Pathfinder right here, and I just put another triangle above it, and we can cut that out, and that actually looks way better. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Chris Eric. I doubted you for a second. I tried to make it better, and I made it worse. So you can use those simple shapes, and remember of rounding those corners. So even on something like this, we could round the corners of this M, and it may give us a really, really cool look by just clicking and dragging these in, right? It changed it a little bit by using that direct selection tool on the corners. All right, Nick, let's hop over and look at the trident that you built. Can you break down how you made this trident?
Let's have some fun here. This was a blast. I was like, I'm glad the picture was here because I didn't want to look to a resource at that moment. I wanted to kind of like think about how this would actually look. And if I do a quick Command Y, you could see all your wireframe. So always remember, this is a quick way to kind of look back. You can see kind of what I did. I just kind of built this so simply. All I did was I just took the rectangle tool and I built one kind of piece like this, okay? And I realized I was gonna just make one and then I can use this 3 times, right? So all I did was with the pin tool, there's add anchor points. So what I did was I just kind of hovered over here and I added 2 points here and I went 2 points right below it. Because what I wanna do is actually with the direct select tool, I'm gonna actually take this with this shift key, I'm gonna bring this out a little bit like that. So I've made this really cool beveled kind of edge. And then all I'm gonna do here is just bring these 2 together. You can actually get rid of them if you want to, get rid of one if you want to. But I've kind of made this cool idea here that is like, oh, okay, so I've got this, that looks kind of like what I wanna have, right?
Yep.
So bring it here. And now here's one of my favorite things. Option Shift, and you drag this over, like as just where you think the placement is. And all you gotta do now is do Command D, and it will duplicate exactly that move, right? So as you drag and move something and duplicate, continue, I could just continue going back and forth and Command Z back. But I've got my 3. I realize this one's gotta be a little bit higher. So I move this up. And again, with the direct select, I can bring this one down. Now I know this one's gonna be the middle sphere all the way around, right?
Yep.
So I've got that there. Other thing you could do is go right back to our pin tool, get rid of the one with the add and just go to the normal. I love this because now notice here, when I'm lingering over, it's connected to that point. So I know if I click here, it's directly synced to that one, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna hit Shift and I will get a 45-degree just like that. Bring it here and I'll get it right back on there. So you can see in just what, a minute, I've kind of created this. I would probably have gone to like, you could think of clip art and all this and get something that everybody else has used, but real quickly, you've made your own in just a few seconds.
Easy.
Isn't that great?
Nick, I'll admit, I was kind of doing something else, which I'm going to show in a second. Did you make those tridents with rectangles or with triangles?
I made them with a rectangle and then just, and that was my first thought. I'm just going to build squares and cut away and add.
Yep. So there's, I mean, and I'll show you right now, again, when we're working, there is no wrong way or right way to do things. If you're watching us for the first time and you're like, I have to do it like that, you don't. We're literally just like making it up as we go because there's no right way. So why try to be right? So the way that I would have done that is completely different, right? I would have done a polygon, right? Grab the polygon tool. I would have clicked to get a 3-sided polygon, which is just a triangle. And then I probably would have scaled this triangle to be pointy and then added in a rectangle underneath it to kind of make that trident shape, right? And Nick had the kind of pieces going off to the side. You had like a little, let me look at yours real quick. Oh yeah, so we had a couple little extra pieces So
Yep.
what I would have done is grabbed my triangle right here and used the pen tool, which we won't get into a lot today, but we'll kind of look at it. And I would add a point right here. And you can see the difference between Nick's and mine. Nick has that little angle and mine is flat on the bottom. And all I need to do is say, hey, Illustrator, let's grab the pen tool and let's add an anchor point right in the middle here. And then let's use the arrow keys to just move that down. Right? And so now we have that awesome diamond shape. And that is a great way to make a trident. Another way, hold on, we're going to do this all the wrong ways. Another great way is we have the rectangle tool, right? We're only going to use rectangles. One rectangle, and then we're going to make another one that's a square. And I'm just holding shift to make that square. I'm going to rotate this square by 45 degrees. And then I'm simply going to grab the direct selection tool and I'm going to drag the top up right there. And there we go. Now I've got another spear trident. So there is no wrong way to do things. We can do like literally whatever we want. So I want to hop over and unless Nick, do you have something else to show?
No, I think that's great. I'm loving that everyone's saying the Mandalorian reference. Everybody has their way. This is the way. That is his way.
Yes. All right. So I do want to show you someone's Instagram that you should go follow, but I want to show you because we're about to get into this style. So this is designer Emily Poulin. She's a friend of the show. I think she's been on the show before. Go follow her on Instagram. Follow on Behance. It is right here. That's the link. Wade will drop a link for you. But her illustration style is one of my favorites. Is she makes these kind of cute little illustrations that feel very sketched, very kind of organic. And this is something that I think a lot of businesses like could use or a lot of businesses would want to experiment with when they're working on a logo. So I want to show you how to use the brush tool real quick. Look at how fun these are. I'm going to show you how to use the brush tool real quick. And we're going to trace over the logo by Patty. Patty, if you're here, thanks for watching. Thanks for contributing in Discord. And Patty's, it is like a glass, but it's kind of all drawn together. And so I want it to kind of be a little bit wonky. And I'm going to use the brush tool here. So this is another way to make a logo if you don't want to do anything super specific. You're going to click on the brush tool right here. And then we're not going to click on anything. We're going to hit enter. Hit the enter button. And here we want the smoothing to be all the way up. Here's the deal. We have so much confidence in you. We love you here at Office Hours. But if you are watching an episode that is Logo Design 101, we want you to have that smoothing on. We want you to let's just bump it up there. I work with it all the way on. And so if you want to go accurate, you can do it, but it's going to look really crazy. Stick on that smoothing. So we're going to have the smoothing all the way on and we're going to hit OK. From there, we're just going to click and drag, right? And I want it to have motion. Now in the sketch, I kind of got the idea, but I want to have more motion to it. So it's less about precision here and more about emotion. And so I kind of just want to follow these lines as I see fit. Maybe they swoop around here, right? There's some extra little swoopies. One swoops here, back up here, and then connects there, right? And so it didn't quite hit, I think I want more of a kind of glass shape. And so the great thing is I can move this to the side and try again. Again, there's no rules. So here I remember, okay, so it got a little bit too wobbly. So here I want to make sure that I try to make this into more of a glass, right?
Yeah.
And I want it to glass a little bit. It's going to look bad.
Wow.
Actually, hold on. I don't hate it.
Bad.
I don't hate it. I don't hate
abstract.
it. It's abstract.
That is great.
All right. I'm not mad about it. All right. So let's say that we want to use this. And now this right now is a path. So what's great about this is that we can actually change this path that is the wine glass. This feels too big. I'm just going to scale this down, pretend like I did this the first time and it was like, wow, he did it. Okay, cool. So it looks more like a wine glass to me. And we just use the brush tool here. And then maybe we want to use this or change the color or the width. What we can do is just up here on the stroke, we can go up and down. So we can go up or we can go down, make it thinner, make it thicker. So maybe we want it somewhere in the middle. And then also if we wanted to, we can change to a different brush. So let's try that. Let's try to do a different brush here by just selecting this and then changing it to maybe this calligraphic, oh my goodness, brush.
I was like, where's he going with this?
And
Calligraphic.
Calligraphic, yeah.
That's a good one.
And so there's a bunch of brushes that you can play around with, but if you just want to play around with some of these, you can put in different brushes and see what you like with some of the default ones. Here's one that's a little more sketchy. That's fun. And you can add brushes to add some interest to your brushed logo, right? Which is pretty good. All right, Nick, let's hop back over and show how to add type to things, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking to add type to their logos. How are we adding type to our logos to represent our business name?
I think we're perfectly set up. We've got a few things made here, and like I think it's fun to actually bring this in now. So basically, I'm just going to the type tool, using our top one at the very beginning. You text right on there. You'll get your Greeking ready to go, and I'm just going to put Mystic in whatever font was left, or was in the preference there, and I'm just going to move it around. Now, one thing you always got to remember too with text is don't manipulate or stretch or anything like that, like by accident. There are some purposeful things we can do and get in there and like fine tune text and typography. But for now, notice all I did was I held the shift key down and I dragged this, so that way I'm keeping a proportion every time I'm moving it around. I'm gonna hit the eyedropper, and for now I'm just gonna give it our orange that we're working with. But remember what we said earlier about kind of striking a chord and kind of picking. Everything should kind of feel uniform. So for this, we know what kind of world we want to be in when it comes to like our actual typography here. And I love this one here. I just started using this one here. It's called Radnik.
It's all about really kind of neat,
right? Right, yeah. So we instantly got this. But now, one thing I want to do too is, right off the bat, I know I want this to be maybe a little bit wider, but I don't want to make the text actually bigger. So what I'm going to do is in my properties, over here, I'm just going to go to tracking, and basically you can notice here, I'm adding, just kind of hitting that arrow, letting it go up. All of a sudden, I'm spacing this out with even spacing. And now I've done what I wanted to do. I've actually created it a little wider, but it's not actually a bigger font, right?
Yes.
It's actually there. Yep. So it looks a little bit maybe too much. I'm going to go 140 and see what we got here.
Cool.
Okay.
And it is mythic instead of mystic.
Ah.
Thanks, chat.
Jesus.
So that stays live. It's if you're used to working in like a Google Doc or some kind of text editing software, it's the same as that, right? You're gonna click using that type tool and then type in, and that's all you need.
Perfect.
And up in the top, it has that bar with all kinds of fonts. You can browse through, find something that feels right to you, and then start to use that as something maybe for your business.
Yeah, and again too, like I like to look at the work that you've created and then wonder, does that like this might even work a little bit better because it's that one had so much curves and kind of thick and thin lines in there, where I like to look at the elements we've created and find those little things that are in the actual type. Like look at the point of the T and then what we've built here with this.
Oh yeah,
so
it's
like
the same sharpness,
right? So you've got this kind of like united kind of common vibe, and I think that's a great way to start messing around with it. So the only thing I want to try to mess around with now is like, let's bring this over and see how this works. So I'm looking like it probably has to go a little bit longer. This might be a little bit short. So what I'm just going to do is with the direct select, I'm just going to kind of, this is neat. This is like, imagine you're just lassoing what you want. I only want these points here. And with the shift key down, I could just extend that. I'm like, yep, that looks like we're going to get there somewhere. So I'm going to grab this. And at this point too, maybe the best thing to do is just group it. So Command G, now I could just grab this and I get it all the time, right? Yep. Rather than having to lasso it every time. So let's do this. I'm going to put it right in the middle. And I think it looks like we're a little bit more than 45 degrees. So we might have to eye this. So love this idea. When you hover to a corner, you get that instant rotate. So I'm just going to kind of start figuring that out. Now I'm looking here going, yep, that's about the angle we want. But notice I do need that to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to do a few undos. I'm going to get this a little bit here. And I'm going to show you the quick way to kind of just mirror that. So I don't worry about the actual angle being anything different with the other one. So let's group it. We'll bring it back. I'm going to hover over, get that. There's my angle right about there, right?
Boom. Yep.
Perfect. So I'm going to get that right there. Here's the quickest way to do it. Command C basically copies it. So your clipboard is, imagine it's that like thing just holding any copy of what you had. It's in the background. It's ready to go.
What are you about to do now? Because I was going somewhere else. You go. Keep going.
Yeah. So I'm going to just hit Command F. What that does is it paste one right on top of it. So watch this. If I move this, I have a duplicate, right?
Okay, so instead of Control V of paste, we're Command F, and that's
put
going
in
to
the front.
Okay, got
yes,
it. Yep.
because if I do paste, it's going to put it somewhere in the artboard that I want it right on top.
Yep.
So it is an exact
Control
duplicate.
F front. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
And then what do you do?
Perfect. Now go over to your rotate tool, and I'm going to change it to reflect. Reflect is your mirror tool. It basically will take anything and show it the other way. So all you have to do is kind of just bring it like this, move it over, and I get a perfect angle, exactly what we had. And I can make this actually a little bit bigger because I think we do. And then boom, now I'm perfectly in there. And I know it's crossing over. We're going to cut that away and show so we don't see it going through Mythic.
Yep.
But again, I've got kind of the beginning. I've built everything I wanted here, and I can start kind of fine tuning a little bit.
That's better than how I was going to do it.
Oh, nice. See, there's 100 ways
Yes.
to do every little step here.
There are 100 ways. So we are going to be coming back eventually right after this series that we're doing right now. We will be doing 5 weeks only on logos. It's going to be only logos for 5 weeks. So make sure you tune back in for that. We do have time left, so I'm not like landing the plane right now. I'm just telling you guys about some stuff. We also have more episodes coming up next week. I think that we're going over some Photoshop basics.
Yeah.
So if you're looking into getting into Photoshop as well, it's a great opportunity for you to do that. And I do want to highlight one other thing, and this is kind of jumping around a little bit, but there is a new program that if you're trying to make a logo is like so easy to make a logo. It's called Creative Cloud Express. So let me hop over here. So Creative Cloud Express, completely different program than Illustrator, but today is all about logos, so who cares where we are? So if you go into Creative Cloud Express, it's really easy. You can start your own. There are templates for you to work off of if you want to work on a logo. Here's a logo template, right? And in here, you can select templates to work off of. You can find different brands. You can edit and put your text in there. You can do a lot of very easy, approachable stuff right here in Adobe Express, Creative Cloud Express, and that is just express.adobe.com. If you've never used that, we're definitely going to be checking it out. And if you haven't used it and you want to learn more, check this out. By this, I mean the thing that I'm pulling up on my screen and stalling for right now. You're hearing music there we go. That's what I want you to see. So check this out. It is youtube.com/Adobe Creative Cloud Express. There's a YouTube channel and they go live like literally every morning teaching you how to use Creative Cloud Express. So go subscribe to this channel. It's separate from the channel we're on right now. Go subscribe to Adobe Creative Cloud Express and they have lessons literally every day for you to make stuff. I think next week we're doing a Valentine's Day week. So we're gonna be doing Valentine's Day cards, stickers, all kinds of fun. So go subscribe to that channel and hang out there as well. All right,
it's
Nick.
such a cool tool to start using for social media.
Yes.
Like honestly,
Yes.
if you want to stand out and just even the most seasoned designer that you can spend hours making great assets on Illustrator and everything, go on here and you can make something that no one else has.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Based on, because it's so new. I love, like, be the first on this one, man.
Yes,
I
do
love
it.
So much fun.
And yes, it is. I am doing the challenge next week. So if you want to hang out with me some more on Monday.
Nice.
And yes, Nick, let's go ahead and let's look. We have literally 1 minute left. Can you show us how we're going to cut out the crossbars real quick?
Perfect. Let's do that really quick. So I'm going to make these just a bit bigger because I want to make sure they are outside of that. That looks good right about there. Quick way I'm going to do it because I want these to have the perfect cut that is aligned with the arcs of these two things. So real quick, I'm going to take this. This might be a little advanced, but let's have some fun. We're going to go back to that path and offset path. Now what I'm going to do is let's go off of the negative here. Oh, way too big. So let's go here. 0.05. Perfect. See what that's done?
Yep.
That's created an outline. Now, when I hit OK, I've got those two things here. This is what I'm going to use to cut those other ones. So by hitting Command 8, I've made a compound path out of those two.
Control
that looks
8.
perfect.
Got it.
Right? Send it to the back, just like we did. So that is Shift Command B. So it is behind my two pieces here. I'm going to take these guys, right? I'm going to unify these together. So in Pathfinder, I'm going to unite them.
All right, 30 seconds.
Like that. 8, and then perfect. Let's go this to the back, this here, and we will go minus back. Boom.
And then we can just delete that in the middle.
Yeah, I can get rid of these guys as well. So we do that really quick. Boom.
We did it. We made a logo.
Perfect.
Logo Masters. So once you're done making your logos, I do want you to jump over here into our Discord, discord.gg/ACC, and post it in homework. You can use our sheet that we've provided here, or you can make your own logo. Regardless of when you're watching this, if you're on the replays, we love you on YouTube. Hello, YouTube friends. Leave a comment below if you want us to cover something in the future.
Yeah, for chartboard. Show all of the mistakes. Show all of the little pieces. That is the fun stuff we all like to look at. We don't want to just see the final beautiful one, right?
Yep.
Show us the whole artboard.
Whole thing. So we will see you next week for another episode of Adobe Office Hours. Bye, everybody.